Now, once I've got the leg and the socket cut, I'll then go ahead and start to cut my circular dovetails. So to do that, what I'll do is start to mark them off and lay them out on the table here before I take it to the jig that I designed to cut this circular tail, which is a pretty unique jig. I haven't seen one of these before. So the first thing I do is mark a line, which you can see right here. And that line is about 3/8 of an inch. And that will be for the base of the socket, the inner socket. So it will need to be curved out, kind of like that. And that would be equivalent to drilling a Forstner bit down the length of this. But I do that with the router jig that I designed. So then I draw another line, which is the depth of the socket, and I transfer it to this piece and draw the line across. And so this is the base of the socket, and this is the upper part of the socket, which is the larger diameter or larger radius, and it'll cut it out like that. So this is a smaller radius, larger radius. What I do is I set the radius initially to the smaller radius, or the radius of the inside of the socket, which I cut out with that finger that I just showed. And I set that on the router jig first. And then I start to gradually sneak up on this line by pushing the board in towards the bit once the radius is set for the inside here. So it's very important. The first step is to push the board in. I don't adjust the radius anymore once I get it set. I push it in and can bring it exactly up to this line and actually split this knife line. Once I get that cut, it's a small diameter all the way down. Then I'll leave the board in the holder, and I'll mark the back of the board, and I'll put a little block right at the back so that later on, when I'm sneaking up on the cheeks, which are these areas, I'll be able to go back and forth to the leg socket and sneak up on the cheek width. So each time I go back, I put it back on that stop block. It's exactly where it was. So that's very useful as I cut the cheeks. Now, as I cut the large radius here, that basically is cutting the cheeks, which are cut down to these lines, which is the placement of this piece on the leg. So I transfer those marks to here. So I'll show the setup and talk a little bit about the jig next.